Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel, sponsored by Star Sports for our flat anti-post video of the season. Now, this video here is one of our favourites. This did really well last year, actually. We had Dave O'Keefe from the finishing line on last year. We had a bit of fun trying to find the winners of some key races moving through the season. And obviously we've now kind of had around about a month of the kind of flat season starting from the Lincoln, and we've had some decent performances since, so we've kind of got an idea of what trainers have got, and potentially some of these 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds how they've trained on and stuff like that. So it gives us a little bit of a better idea of what we're looking at moving into the season. Jack, we really enjoyed this video last season. You did put up a horse to follow that has done fairly well since.
Yeah, I put up a case of you in the video. He's of course now a dual Group 1 winner, so that was nice. We have another 3-year-old sprinter to follow, so hopefully he can follow suit.
Yeah, so what we're going to do during this video is Jackson have, I think, 4 selections officially, me with 3 selections, and we're going to give you a couple of horses to follow each. So, Jack, who is your first selection anti-post for the season?
The first selection is going to come in the 2,000 Guineas, so very, very quick. And it's going to be Dubawi Legend, who's trained by Hugo Palmer. He's already come out and said he has no doubt that he is the best horse he's ever trained. But for me, there's one thing I can't get out of my head, and that was I was actually working the day doing some written commentary work for Doncaster on his debut over 7 furlongs when he put his rivals to the sword, including Brazil Power, beat them by 5 lengths, and it was an exceptional performance. He then went to build on that, finished second in the Dewhurst. Native Trail was just a lot scopier, a lot bigger than him that day. I think now, hopefully, if he's trained on from 2 to 3, look, I don't think they ever should have sent him out to Del Mar for the Breeders' Cup. But then again, I get why they did it, because I thought he had a good chance, but kind of threw the race away early doors and never really gave a good account of himself. He enjoys Newmarket. We saw that in the Dewhurst, and he's still 16 to 1. So hopefully he'll be able to bring it up against Native Trail, who of course looks like a worthy favourite.
Okay, yeah, I'm actually going to put one up in a Guineas as well. I'm going to kick things off with the 1,000 Guineas that we'll be seeing on Sunday. And what looks a bit of a mess of a race now, Inspiral's come out of the race, which is a bit of a shame. She looked like the real star moving into season. Tenebrism is a very short price favourite. I think it's either going to probably bolt up or really flop on the day. And I think it could be a race open, something at bigger prices. But the horse I like is actually one of the French horses, Shock, on this channel. Sounds fancying a French horse. And the French got 2 in there. Graffar's got 1, and Andre Farb's got 1. I actually like the Graffar horse here, Malavav, who's 8 to 1 for the race at the moment. Now, a lot of attention has been on the Farb horse, Zelly, who's actually, I think, has been jocked up with Tom Marquand on board for the Guineas. It's an exciting ride for Tom. I think Oshin rode the horse in the Marcel Boussac on Arc weekend. But this Malavav was well, very impressive out of the Breeders' Cup, finishing second out there on the turf. And we say, like the Breeders' Cup, it does suit the American horses more than some of these European horses. And I thought this horse put in a really decent run. And Malafaf has already had 1 run this season already, along with Zelly, and they were both in the same race at the start of April. And Malafaf came out on top that day. Now, Andre Farb's horses, kind of sometimes a bit like O'Brien's horses, they sometimes really do need the run and come on a hell of a lot. But I just think Malafaf, the further this horse goes, the better this horse I think is going to look. Potentially going to be a Prix de Diane filly later on in the season. I think it's quite exciting. And yeah, that prep in the, I think it's the Prix Imprudence, was a fairly decent one. I think both of them are going to give a really good showing in that Guineas in what I think could throw up a bit of a shock. Jack, I'm sure you've probably got one for the 1,000 Guineas.
I do indeed, yeah. Tenebrism, I love her, but I really don't think she's going to stay a mile. If she does, I'll hold my hands up and say I was wrong. Of course, Aidan O'Brien's come out and said she will stay a mile because she finished off well over 7 furlongs. Of course, he said a lot about it the previous years when there's always kind of the big thing in the yard going from 2 to 3. I'd probably rather back Tuesday over her. But look, Discoveries, I think, is a little bit kind of been found in the market now. I think she's around 6 to 1. She was as large as 16 to 1 not so long ago. But of course, she won the Moy-Glare on good ground. She was third in I think it was the debutante on soft ground. You'd like to think she's training on from 2 to 3. Of course, she's a full sister to Alba Centauri. She's a half sister to Alpine Star as well. So she should stay definitely 8 furlongs, if not 10. So, I mean, I think she does have a great chance, and I really don't think Tenebrism's going to stay. So hopefully she'll be nice and balanced down the rolling mile and hopefully get us off to a good start.
There we go, an interesting one there. Both coming from the 1,000 Guineas. Jack and I will be taking each other on in that race there. And I actually go to France for their equivalent of the 1,000 guineas, the Pouliche. And I am pretty confident here that we're going to see this horse here. And this is Homeless Songs. Now, listening to Dermot Wild, he said the horse is 50-50 either to go to Newmarket or France. But speaking to a few people, apparently the vibes are this horse is most likely going to end up in France. There's around 4-1 for the race out there. Now, I was really impressed with this horse at the start of the season where she won and beat some decent horses, the likes of Agartha, Sacred Bridge, and I know Jack and I both fancy the horse, but Contrary Chapel, we probably ran a not to her best form, but still finished ahead of these horses and did it in really, really good style. I just think it's one of those horses that's just really come on a lot from 2 to 3. I think Dermot Wild's got a really exciting horse, and this horse will only step up and trip. Maybe one of those horses that goes from a French 1,000 guineas to a Diane rather than going from a French 1,000 guineas to something like an Oaks. I don't know, but Dermot Wild might target a lot of races out in France with her. But yeah, I think she's quite exciting. Homeless Songs, I think, at around the 4-1 mark up there. It's not an amazing price, but I think she's going to go very well if heading out to Paris. Jack, who's your next best?
Mine's going to come from France, but it's going to be in the Poulain, the French 2,000 guineas, where at Modern Games, hopefully he doesn't go to the Irish 2,000 guineas, but if he does go to the French 2,000 guineas, he was very impressive last year in the Tattersall. I think he came on leaps and bounds, of course. What happened in Delmar when there was a big fiasco there, he did that with such ease, I thought, and he oozed class. I mean, if he does come out to the French 2,000 guineas, I think the ground won't be a problem whatsoever. Of course, he's a half-rod to Modern News as well, so I don't think the ground's going to be a problem at all. I know he's available at around 5-1 at the moment, and I don't think that's a bad price at all.
There we go. It's going to be interesting to see how a lot of these horses get on. I'm quite excited to find out how they get on throughout the season. And we've put them up for specific races, but they might end up winning some big other races along the way as well. My next bet comes in the Derby, and you might quite like this one, Jack, in regards to the trainer, because I know you quite like the trainer. And this is actually Piz Badal for the Derby for Donna Crow Brian. The horse is priced up at around 20-1 at this moment in time. I think this is a far too big a price for this horse. And this horse obviously won the Ballysacks at the start of the season. The Ballysacks had a really good record of throwing up some really good winners and Derby contenders. You actually remember last year, Bolshoi Ballet went and won the Ballysacks, ended up going off as favourite in the Derby in the end. So I just think the 20-1 is far too big. This horse finished well ahead of Duke de Sessa. I thought Duke de Sessa was actually on my notebook to be a Derby horse this season. The fact this horse beat that horse and did it in good style, the front two, I think it was Buckaroo finished second. I think they both ran really good races for the O'Brien brothers, and I just think that he's a smart one and another horse who definitely has improved again from 2 to 3. I think stepping up and trip, this horse will be really exciting. And obviously, we remember, Jack, only a couple of years ago, Fancy Blue was your horse with Donna Crow Brian that you really loved and fell in love with, and did us so many favours, especially at Goodwood being our joint nap that year. And I just think he's got a really nice horse here. I think the horse will end up running in a Derby. I'm hoping it'd be the English Derby, but might go for the French Derby. But will run in some other good races. I'm hoping in Britain as well. So yeah, Piz Badal for the Derby. For myself, Jack, who is your final official selection?
You're saying about Fancy Blue, I forget she's actually still my wallpaper on my phone. There's still Fancy Blue. She still lives in my head rent free. I love her, bless her. I can't wait to hopefully get out to Ireland to see her. But yeah, I do miss her a lot on track. It's a shame she had that injury. But no, the last one is going to be a 3-year-old sprinter for the Commonwealth Cup. Who's available at 16-1, and the definition of the cliche knocking on the door he did last year. I know what you're going to say. It's the Commonwealth Cup supremacy last year. I know. I do it to myself. Sometimes I bring the pain on myself. And no, he's not going to be trained by Clive Cox, okay? But I know what you're thinking. It's supremacy all over again. No, it's not. Castle Star is 16-1 for the Commonwealth Cup. He was second in the Railway. He was then fourth in the Group 1 and then second in the Middle Park. We're not getting a clear run with Jamie Spencer on board. He oozes class. He's going to hopefully relish training on from 2 to 3. And I think the sprinting division is very open and he's going to grab it by the horns and take the Commonwealth Cup.
The curse of the Commonwealth Cup. Ooh, it's there. Why'd you do it to yourself? I don't know why you do it to yourself. Do you know what? I actually think Castle Stars. It's actually a shame we're not seeing this horse on Wednesday. Was actually looked like the horse might be declared, but nope, not the case. But yeah, obviously, obviously the fact that they entered that horse in there, that's obviously got the Commonwealth Cup is surely the target for that horse. And Yeah, potentially could be a good bet, but Jack, you've been cursed by that race once before. Hopefully, it doesn't happen again. Right, let's get on to a couple of horses to note then. We'll bounce off each other here, Jack, and I'll kick things off with one to note who's actually in France, but maybe coming to England. And this is a horse who I think I actually put up as a horse to note this time last year, and that was Sabila Spain. She's a horse that, Jack, you know I've loved this horse ever since the debut run. I thought this horse was ultra impressive, and the horse actually ran fourth in the Prix de Diane last year. There's one point where the horse looked like she was going to go and win the Diane that year. And look, I just think that potentially this horse has got more to offer. Now, I've actually spoken to Christopher Head, the trainer, who's kindly invited me out to France to go and see the horse at some stage. And potentially this could be on. Now, I think if this video gets to 30 likes, I'm making the decision that I will be going to the English Derby and the French Derby on the same weekend. And I will go and see Christopher Head's stable and get to visit Sabila Spain. But joking aside with this horse, I just think that she is ultra consistent, and I think that potentially that run at the start of the season behind the Revenant. When I spoke to Christopher about this race, he just mentioned to me, he said, "Look, it's a Group 3 on paper, but looks like a Group 1 to me." And in terms of sort of the horse in there, likes of De Hale, who's run some decent races and won Group 1s and Group 2s, and the Revenant, who's probably going to come over here even potentially for the Lockinge. I think it's ended up to be quite a good race. Now the plan is that this horse will run in the Prix Muguet at Saint-Cloud on May the 8th. That race has been won by some decent horses, including Dusail, who beat the likes of Petroville and Victor Ladorum. It's also been won by Persian King, Plumatic. And the plan is potentially, if this horse does go and win that race on May the 8th, that she could potentially come over for the Queen Anne at Royal Ascot. Now, it's no guarantee, but she could be coming there. That's potentially on their agenda. I'm sure they just want a big day out with her over in Britain. You can't have a bigger day than Royal Ascot. So, yeah, I think she'd be quite excited. I'd love to see her go and win that on May the 8th, and for Christopher to give me a message and say she's coming over to England for the Queen Anne. I'm sure that I'll end up being there to see her run, and I'm sure hopefully she'll run a decent race and have a few drinks. But look, in France and in England, I think she's going to be a horse worth noting, another year older. So Sabila Spain, I've given her a fair reason for that one. But yeah, she'll be my first one. Jack, who's your next one to know?
So my first to note would be Castle Star. Of course, I've gone through why I think so. I think he's going to take, hopefully, the sprinting division by the horns this year and hopefully assert himself as one of the best 6 furlong horses out there. And I'm going to go on to the other one, and it's quite a basic one, but I'd probably actually go out there to say I would not be surprised to see a Dale, the top-rated horse in the world, at the end of the year. I really think he could go unbeaten this year. He's got the Coronation Cup, the King George, the Juddmonte potentially against Baid, which would be an unbelievable prospect, and then maybe even try and go 3 better in the Arc. I really thought he gave an unbelievable account in the Arc when fourth. I thought he went there to go and win it, but unfortunately just didn't get through the ground. If he gets anything better ground than that, I really think as a 4-year-old he is going to come on leaps and bounds, and I really would not be surprised if he goes unbeaten this year.
Okay, yeah, I mean, there are some top class horses from that Godolphin stable, and he's right at the top of the list, obviously. And have I heard little rumours, Jack? I don't want to put any pressure on you, that you quite like Stradivarius in the Ascot Gold Cup this year. Is that a rumour, or is that true?
You say a rumour. I just think the staying division's relatively open. I'll just leave it as that. Okay,
Oh,
stranger
everyone's
things have
dreaming.
happened.
Everyone's
Stranger things have
watching and
happened.
dreaming. Oh, it'd be amazing, wouldn't it, if he were to come back and win a Group 1 this season? I'm sure that on that agenda, now they're keeping season, the Goodwood Cup has definitely got to be one of the targets this season. Hopefully, they get the ground they want this year. But this horse loves Goodwood, and if he turned up at Goodwood, I can tell you now, I'd be backing him. But yeah, Stradivarius is so exciting to see this horse in training another season, a horse that everyone just loves. So yeah. My final horse to note, and I'm actually going to put this. I'm going to do what I did last weekend and say this is our joint horse to follow this season. And it's a 4-year-old handicapper on the flat. And we haven't mentioned his name for a while. He is in the betting actually for the Supreme Novice Hurdle at Cheltenham with some bookmakers, but I genuinely think he could be a good horse this season on the flat. I'll give it a joking aside, I'll give a good reason, but the horse's name, for those who don't follow this channel and haven't been following for the last sort of, I say about 8 months, is Champagne Piaf for the Gary Moore stable. And this horse here is rated 95 currently. He's only a 4-year-old. He looks really progressive. I think he's going to be winning some really big handicaps this season. Now, I'd be surprised if he's not a 100 plus horse 100 plus rated horse this season. And look, he had nice wins at Epsom and at Windsor last season. And arguably, he should have won the Lavazza Stakes, where he had a shocking sort of run of passage at Ascot. I remember Jack and I watching it. I messaged each other and said he probably could have won that. And the horse who won that race was Chalkstream for Her Majesty. And that horse is rated 105. I think that potentially Champagne Piaf is on still a workable mark. And from around sort of a 10 furlong to, yeah, I'd say a 10 furlong trip would probably well suited to this horse. Maybe a 12 furlong, the mile and a half trip could be suited as well. I think he's going to be winning races. And Jack and I have noted this horse down ever since the run at Goodwood, where we saw this horse and it looked really awkward, really quirky. We went, that's such a Gary Moore horse. Like, that horse is going to be really quirky, but it's going to have his big day one day. Well, I just think that he's going to have a few big days this season. Jack and I are going to follow him, and we'll probably have a little tracker on him on our Twitter every time he does run to wish him luck, and we'll be cheering him home. But yeah, Champagne Piaf will be the final horse and the next gen horse to follow this season. Whew. Now that's it. That is the video done.
Take a breath now. Goodness me.
I know, yeah. I tell you what, we've done it, and I'm sure we'll note all those down and have those on a nice little graphic. They can go up on Twitter as well as horses to note. But yeah, we are now going to really be flying into the flat season. We have still got one kind of flat jumps hybrid preview coming this Friday, which will be this weekend. Obviously, we'll have some of the punchdown racing, but the headline is going to be Newmarket for the Guineas, and plenty of good group races there as well. Jack and I are going to be kicking on with the flat season. We'll have plenty of content coming your way. If you guys do want to see a couple of review shows of the big meetings, we're not talking about weekly review shows, but if there was some, big racing, if you do like seeing the review shows, let us know down in the comments, because we'll only do it if you guys want it. But yeah, that'll be great. And yeah, just continue to support during the flat season, because we will produce plenty of good content. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give the video a like. Check Star Sports out down in the description, and we will see you on Friday. Thanks for watching.